HODL, how you doing, man?
Yo, what's up, dude?
So you double booked us last time and you picked the other show instead. Thanks for that. We appreciate your
I
priorities.
did, yeah, I did.
You did?
Because Michaela Peterson was on the other show, and I'm a big fan of her father. So I was like, you know what? I talk to Peter all the time. Like that shit can wait. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Well, we can get her on. She follows me on Twitter. Let's get her on. Anyway, we've got
Yeah, she's cool.
we got a very special guest today. We got SurferJim.
I don't know about special, but thanks for having me.
No, it's good to have you on, dude. Well, listen, look, firstly, it's nice to meet you. I think for a long time on Twitter, I thought you were about like 26 years old. And
Why?
I don't know, man. Just like SurferJim just sounds like some cool young dude.
No, I was given
It's
a
an
name
endless
when
summer.
I was a young dude. Maybe never cool, but who knows?
We're about the same age, I reckon, Jim. Not far off.
No, I got 20 years on you, brother.
You got 20 years? You're not. You're in your 60s.
I'm 60.
Shut the fuck
I am
up.
60 this year.
Wow.
No, dead serious.
Damn.
And you know why I don't care about saying that? I was thinking I might get a chance to tell the story, so now I will.
Okay.
I was in a bar in my early 30s trying to impress some much younger women in their early 20s. And, you know, if you hook up and they're good looking enough, this could be a fun night, right? And a group of girls is talking to a group of me and my guy friends, and one of them says, well, how old are you guys anyway? And we all realize, oh boy, this could be, you know, make it or break it. If we're too old, these chicks aren't going to want to hang with us, you know? And it dawned on me that never being a one-night stand kind of a guy, if I was to hook up with a chick much younger than me, I was looking for a relationship. I just want a good relationship. I'm not into a one-night stand. And I thought, well, if I lie to this chick about my age, she's going to find out one day. And then the entire basis of our relationship was started on a lie. So what the hell good is that? So I immediately understood that if I lie to this girl in this bar, I'm just a complete fool, and it's not going to get me anything that I might want. And if I'm too old for her, I'm too fucking old for her. I can never change that. So I'm 60, and I can never change that. And I'm not going to fucking lie about it. And I'm not going to, I don't get why people impersonate either one of you two on Twitter. What the fuck is the point? If you can't be who you are, we don't need to hear from you. Be fucking real, dude. I don't get it. I don't get people.
Well, I don't get people either. I've been trolling the Americans for the last 24 hours, which has been fun. But anyway, listen, Jim, you've been out there slaying billionaires, taking down the billionaires.
No. I'm not slaying anybody.
I mean, you did slay one.
You did slay one, dude.
I don't see it that way.
He slayed himself.
I don't see that I slayed anybody. Yeah, well,
I see it as SurferJim 1, Chamath 0. That's how I see it.
Well, it still was not my intention to make them take him off. I still don't know. Was he fired off the panel, or did he quit? Does anybody know? Do either of you guys know?
Yeah,
I think it's likely that he quit.
Yeah, I know.
You know for sure?
Well, yeah, but I'm not he wasn't fired off it at all. And I think that's a good thing, because I don't think that would be the right move, whatever we think of him. I think it'd be good if he came out and did his speech, and if he got booed, then so be it. Then he'd have to understand why. And if he came out and said some good things, I think he's an interesting guy. I think he said some good stuff. I thought what he said to you was atrocious. I think Bitclout is a joke. But whatever. We are in the marketplace of ideas, right? And if we don't have a marketplace of ideas, if we don't get to challenge them, we're all just going to sing from the same hymn sheet. So it's good to have that marketplace of ideas and learn what works, what doesn't, what people like, where consensus is. But he definitely wasn't fired. I know that for sure. I think it was something to do with he wanted to do his presentation remotely because he couldn't get into the city. And they were like, no, I think we need you in person. So I think he pulled out because of that. But because I tried to reach out, I was like, if I'm emceeing and I know someone's going to get some shit, I tried to reach out to him because I thought we should talk beforehand. And my advice to him was that I would have just advised him that I think he should reach out to you and apologize. That's when I found out.
So I agree with you that he should not have been fired. If they offered him the spot and he did nothing to break the contract, which as far as I understand he didn't, then he should be allowed to speak. And if he selected himself out, then that's up to him. I agree, an apology may have been reasonable, and I certainly would have accepted it. But my position was never to remove him or Novogratz or anybody else as speakers. My bitching was just the fact that they were there. And I didn't understand, and maybe it was my being naive, I didn't understand what I thought was a Bitcoin conference was allowing keynote speakers to be people who not just dabbling, but promote pump and dump shitcoins as somehow a diversified crypto portfolio is something that the average person should consider. And I don't believe that's true at all. And so to me, it was a test of integrity. I didn't see it. I just didn't see the reason why they needed those speakers when there's a ton of other great Bitcoin only, really smart people out there that would attract just as large of an audience, and they could hold a higher level of integrity standard of the speakers that they're using. And I get that we all have skeletons in our closet. We've made mistakes and nobody's perfect. But there is a level at which we have to all choose to compromise with the relationships we keep with everybody. It's always good to forgive somebody who humbly apologizes, always, because none of us are perfect. But when somebody is routinely I see evidence of routine disinformation, obfuscation of relevant facts, all kinds of presentations that cloud the reality of what shitcoins really are. And so there's a giant market for them now because most people have no clue what they're doing. And the people that really do know what they're doing are not taking a strong enough stand against it because they make too much money by just ignoring the real deep truths. That's how I see it.
Yeah, this is an extremely vicious game that's going on right now, and I think it's very frustrating for those of us who have a conscience because it's like shitcoiners are on parade at the moment. The Bitcoin price has been trading in the same range for about 2.5 months, and because of that, people are searching for yield and things like Dogecoin and whatever Ethereum, whatever it is, right? NFTs. Somebody was explaining to me how they're trading these things called bunks, which are like little pictures of monkeys, and like this monkey, like hipster monkeys, and like this monkey has a leather jacket, and that makes him more valuable. And this little picture of a monkey, it's so stupid. It's incredibly stupid, right? And like for instance, like I am someone who I've been in the space for a long time. I have like casual relationships with people who have invited me in on stuff like this. Like, do you want to get in on the pre-sale of XYZ token? And the answer is no, I don't, because I can't sleep at night if I do that. Like, I don't feel good. I think Michael Saylor said it once that I don't feel right winning if I don't win the right way. And I have the same moral framework that he does. I don't feel right selling people a future I don't believe in. And that's what shitcoining is, because the real game is to trade these shitcoins, to dump them on retail, to take your profits and put that into Bitcoin and to earn more Bitcoin. This is a big, game of essentially hot potato in order to earn more Bitcoin. And I think the one thing that we were, naive about as Bitcoiners was that we kind of, we thought this might not happen again. Like we were hopeful that it might not happen again, that there might not be an alt season again, because I think it's just a very frustrating feeling, and not because there's stuff going on in other places. Like I don't care if Dogecoin goes to $5 or whatever, right? Which it's not going to, but I don't care if Dogecoin has a pump. What I care about is all the people who believe the shitcoin marketing, the shitcoin narrative, and they're the ones who get stuck holding the bag. Because they're denominating in United States dollars, they think they're doing really well. But then the real traders, the savvy guys, like the guys like Kobe or whoever, they're out there denominating in Bitcoin, and they're front-running retail user unit bias, and they're using that to dump on them. I fundamentally just think it's sort of a slimy game. I don't like it, and it's a bummer to see. And I know we're all getting those messages from friends. They're like, hey man, what about Dogecoin? Think Dogecoin's going up? And you're like, Jesus Christ, really? I've been telling you about Bitcoin for 5 fucking years. 5 years. When I told you about Bitcoin, it was $200 a coin. Now it's $55,000 a coin. Did you think to listen at any point in the last 5 years? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Dude.
What is wrong? I want to strangle these people.
Let me read you this because the perfect thing came through today. Right, here we go. Some dude messages me this morning. Big fan of the podcast. Out of interest, do you feel any FOMO now that they've gone off the shitcoins? Like he's basically saying, am I missing the FOMO? And I said to him, look, I definitely feel the FOMO, but I've stuck to my guns with Bitcoin. Financially, it's worked out, and some of the shitcoiners are going to get wrecked. I understand why some people get involved in shitcoins on two levels. I think some just want to make money. I get that, and I also understand that some people actually, and I think it's naive to not accept that some people actually believe in these projects. I don't believe every single person buying a shitcoin thinks, oh, this is junk, it's going to die, it's bullshit. I think some people fundamentally believe in them. There are funds created that set up it. And I think that's like an interesting area of discussion. So I'm probably going to take the opposite side of you two to prod your arguments out of you. And like anyone listening, this isn't me being a shitcoiner, I'm 100% Bitcoin, but I'm going to prod the arguments from their angle. So people listening don't just have three people going, oh, shitcoins are shit. Like we have some debate around this.
In my opinion, anybody who's a competent computer engineer, coder level person should be able to see the obvious problem here. And I would phrase it this way. The invention of Bitcoin, the first time that a digital file was able to be created and not copied and controlled by a single person, that's the invention here, and what was created was a closed loop system, whereby within the system, digital files are created and managed and can't be copied. But what gives it value is its tie to the real world, which is proof of work. Now, the reason this works is because no one in the system has to be trusted. Only the code and the agreement that everybody participating in the system is running the same code. Once the network effect kicks in on that, you can't stop that part. So we're already there. So you've got a closed loop system. The system creates digital files that can't be copied, that are controllable by single individuals. And the rewards for helping maintain the system are the use of electricity, a provable use of electricity that the system itself can verify. No third parties have to verify any of this stuff. So the system checks and balances itself all day long. You can use the rules of the system to dictate the movement of these digital files over time and in some cases space. But you cannot enforce the digital file. You cannot, let me see how to say this. You cannot own a digital file and then enforce physical rules in the physical world in any way, right? So you cannot have a token that represents your mortgage. I mean, you could have it, but doesn't mean you can enforce it, right? Same thing for owning a car or anything else. You can't have a token. You don't need a token for anything else that you can use a database for, because the systems that are creating these tokens are simply creating a uncopyable file that can represent value. That's it. But it cannot represent something in the real world other than the electricity used to create that value, or what gives it that value, I should say. And then you extrapolate out all this into the realm of economics and money, and you come to realize that there's only ever going to be one real money. If humans will converge on the best money, Bitcoin, in my opinion, is that. And so none of the others are going to win as money. So what are they going to win as? They can't do anything else with a digital file that is within a closed system, being able to be moved around, using public and private key cryptography to do what? To move a token around, right? That's all we're doing, is we're moving digital files around here that we've given value to, right? And we've given them value because we can control them, because the system runs itself. There are no third-party actors that anybody needs to trust. And so now you could take your time and you could say, I want one of those digital files, and I will give you these shitty fiat dollars if you give me rights to that digital file. That's all this is. We're storing our value in digital files that we get to control. It's not storing it in bars of gold anymore or houses or anything else. We're simply storing our time. So what the hell do we need 1 million shitcoins for? To store other pieces of our time? No, we don't. And we can't control real world assets with these digital files. NFTs are the biggest joke going. You take a real file of some kind, digital file, photo, video, text, and you hash it. That's what an NFT is. It's a string of numbers and letters that represent an original file. Now, if you have that hash, that NFT, you have no idea what that looks like. And unless you have the original and hash it again to prove, see, my NFT links to this original because I can hash the original and it gets me this NFT number again. So what are you buying when you're buying an NFT? A big number, and the proof that you have that this number represents something is the same thing I can make 1,000 copies of and give to everybody else. So the NFT is pointless. So you got guys like Chamath pushing NFTs. You got. I'm sorry, Peter, but I was going to come down on you for this. Your sponsors are all a bunch of shitcoins.
Listen.
And I would not use any of them because they're promoting bullshit all day long. The Winklevoss twins are evil.
What?
They created a giant casino for people to get wrecked.
Well, listen.
I can't stand it. But it's legal, and hey, it's a free market. We can do what they want to do.
Jim.
But I would get Bitcoin-only sponsors. All right,
Jim.
sorry.
Well, no. Listen, hey. Listen, we had a conversation offline before this, and I said this is no hold bars. You can come in and say whatever you want. You can ask me any questions. I wouldn't call my sponsors evil. At all, and that's not me just
intentionally, but they should know better.
That's not me just defending my.
If I know this shit, Peter, these rich motherfuckers should know this shit.
Yeah.
They got all the time in the world to study this crap.
Listen, like I say, I'm like here. You can ask any questions. I don't think creating an exchange for shitcoins makes you evil. They've got a business to run and they've made business choices, right? But we can go through this. Like, we can go through any of that stuff. But let me start with, I said I was going to take the opposite side so people hear the argument, because there's going to be people who love shitcoins. They are. And they want to trade them and they're interested in them. And they're going to listen to this show. And I think it's fair to at least take their position. But like I said, I'm 100% Bitcoin. Even Kobe messaged me a while back, told me when to place the ETH trade. He said, now's the time to buy. It's going to shoot up. And I said, no, dude, I'm not going to do it. Can't do it. Blah, blah, blah. And I stuck with the Bitcoin, right? So there's a couple of things to unpack there. But the thing I would say is, what are we actually saying about shitcoins? Are we saying they shouldn't exist? Or are we saying they should exist if they want to exist, but we should be providing the feedback mechanisms to people who might want to trade them, what we think about it?
The second thing, they should exist.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
as a free market capitalist, I do think that they have a I can't do anything to stop them, nor would I want to do anything coercive to stop them. Let me put it like that. You know what I mean? I don't like the fact that they exist. But in a totally free market, for instance, think about the Wild West in America. You used to have these guys who would go town to town, with these carts full of snake oil. And oftentimes this snake oil would be full of formaldehyde and cocaine and heroin and a little bit of gasoline, all sorts of crazy shit, right? And they would sell this concoction town to town, and they would go, what do you have, ma'am? Do you have headaches? Oh, you have headaches? Well, this cures headaches. What do you have? Oh, you have AIDS? Well, this cures AIDS. They didn't have AIDS back then, but you get the point of what I'm saying, right? In a totally free market, what Bitcoin maximalists are trying to do is stand next to that guy with the snake oil cart and be like, this is bullshit. Everything he's saying is bullshit. And every time he speaks, we shout over him because there's nobody coming to stop this behavior. This is not the nerfed up world with consumer protections. This is caveat emptor, buyer beware. This is a totally free market. There's nobody who's going to save you from yourself here, right? I've said this before, but major corporations cannot go on TV and directly lie to you because the FCC will come down on them. But a shitcoin can go right out, say anything it basically wants to say, can say, oh, we do this, we do that, we do smart contracts, we put this on the blockchain, we put that on the blockchain. And there's no sanctioning body that's going to come down on them. So it's really just a bunch of volunteerist assholes like us who have to come out, against these things in order to basically tell you the game. And what I would say is if you want to trade shitcoins, and you're trading them to make more Bitcoin and you're not promoting them, in general, I don't really have a problem with you. That's not a behavior that I would personally engage in myself because I feel like it's very risky. I feel like it's pretty immoral. And I feel like, I don't know, it's just not something that I would personally do. But if you are going to do that, at least you have the correct mental model for how the game is played in your head. If you're the type of person, though, who listens to XYZ billionaire and goes, oh man, Mark Cuban said that banana coin is the future, and then you go all in, or Dogecoin or whatever. Dude, they're putting Dogecoin, you're going to be able to pay for Mavericks games in Dogecoin. That's amazing. You know, it doesn't make any sense. Like, go look at the GitHub repos. Nobody's been developing on Dogecoin in fucking years. You know what I mean? Like, it's a ghost town.
Yeah, but like
no, these things will never be interoperable with anything. They are just shitcoin trades. That's all they are.
But isn't that like all through life we have things like that? So, for example, you know, a lot of people would, like Jim, you're saying you wouldn't use any of my sponsors because they have shitcoins, right? But isn't it a case like some people will say, well, look, cigarettes are bad, cigarettes are evil. They basically sell you death, but you'll go into a gas station and buy gas from a station that sells, cigarettes. Like, should we be enforcing this purity all through our life and consistency of purity? Like, everywhere you go, there's something that is potentially negative, can have a negative impact on your life, and you ignore that, because that's the way I see this purity test playing out. It's like you're saying, oh, you shouldn't have that sponsor because they have shitcoins. Okay, well, I think cigarettes are evil, so I can't use that gas station because they sell cigarettes. Like, how far do we carry this purity through life?
Cigarettes are actually bad for you, though. The same way shitcoins are mainly bad for almost every participant in the market. 90-ish% of, and I'm being very generous when I say 90% of participants in this market will end up losing money. Okay, that's just how it is. It's the same way that, X percentage of people who smoke are going to end up getting lung cancer. It is bad for you to smoke. It is bad for you to trade shitcoins, right? And so we have social stigmas that form around that. Like, sure, you can go into, a petrol station, as you call it. Dude, that was a terrible accent.
It was pretty good.
I'm going to go into the petrol station and buy your cigarettes, right? But, there's a lot of social stigma that's formed around that. We now have rules about where you can and can't smoke. You know what I mean? Like, if you're smoking at a party or something, like, people will look at you weird. You know what I mean? Like, it tends to be more of a lower class activity. There are a lot of stigmas that form around it. So yeah, like, you can still do it. We still have freedom, but you're going to it's not without consequence. You can't. It's like, sometimes, like, the guys like Eric Voorhees, they make this free market argument where they go, well, you don't like the free market? You know what I mean? You don't think people should be able to engage in free market activity? It's like, hey, when did you dipshits forget that free speech was part of a free market? If we don't like what you're doing, we are allowed to say we don't like what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That's free speech. That's free market behavior too. Understand that. I don't have to sit by and idly watch you do whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? If you were polluting, I'm allowed to go, this guy's polluting, look at him. This is a negative externality on all of us. Tragedy of the commons type shit. You know what I mean? I just have to be okay with your immoral behavior.
Yeah, but you've kind of missed the point of the question, though. What I'm saying is, it's like there's this huge amount of pressure that comes in the Bitcoin world. If that you're not Bitcoin only on everything you do, like, you get it's not just criticism. It's like people like saying, fuck your shit, I want nothing to do with your shit, blah, blah, blah. But why don't we carry that out into other places? Like I say, why aren't we saying to people, go into a gas station that sells cigarettes, say, you shouldn't be going to that gas station. You get your gas from a gas station that doesn't have cigarettes.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because this is the most important invention in all of human history. And people are being deceived that there's a whole bunch of others that might beat it one day or that are just like it. This is not cigarettes and gasoline. And my gas station doesn't promote cigarettes, but Gemini promotes shitcoins all day long. They're helping build an ecosystem to wreck people. I think it's terrible.
So, yeah, look, I'm listening to your points, but it's that purity test. It's a very hard road to walk.
This is the most important, Peter. This is the most important invention in all of human history. This is the best form of money humans have ever had. We're trying to free all of humanity from the oppression of central banking and war.
But the shitcoins don't damage
right? And
Bitcoin.
These people
they damage the individual.
Are you kidding me? They waste incredible amounts of time, human resources, actual money with websites being built, all kinds of wasted resources trying to build something that's never going to last, and delaying the adoption of the best worldwide money ever. This is they're destroying people's potential because they're distracting them all day long. The real narrative is being suppressed. This new form of money is the most important thing humans have ever had, because this allows everybody to be free. This allows this removes the manipulation of the narrative and the control of people. Because you look all day long at these TV reporters. I just saw a clip on Twitter where a guy is arguing with, some dude is filming the reporter. He's set up with his cameraman. They're going to do a story. And the reporter has his mask off and he's yelling at the guy, "What's your problem?" Blah, blah, blah. And then he puts his mask on to start the taping. And the guy starts mocking him like, "Are you kidding me? You just told me you could say whatever you want. You're free." And the guy says, "Well, the corporate people want us to look a certain way." And he goes, "Oh, so you're not free." And the reason is because his paycheck is controlled by people above him, right? We all are susceptible to compromising our morals when our lives are at stake, when our paycheck is at stake. You know how many cops do not want to enforce bullshit laws, but they have to. They want their job, right? So I bet you a lot of them are conflicted. I bet you a lot of them know that they're doing evil. They're supporting the state, which is destroying lives and stealing money for victimless crimes. But they don't want to lose their job. Why is all this existing? Because some people at the top control money and they fuck everybody's lives and their moral compasses up. And I'm trying to help fix this shit. And I can't stand the shitcoins distracting people, wasting resources and wasting time and delaying this inevitability, which I may not get to see because I'm an old motherfucker. But
you're already
society
seeing it,
is going to benefit from the hard work we're doing.
You're already seeing it.
Yeah, but I might not see it fully play out. Worldwide hyper-Bitcoinization, $20 billion Bitcoin, I may not see all that, but the point is that this is a revolution that none of us are going to stop, in my opinion, and it is the inevitability of what humans need. Over time, enough humans will make sure this happens, but all this bullshit has to get swept out of the way first, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just a janitor trying to clean up around.
I'll tell you something funny, though. My biggest Bitcoin lesson was getting wrecked on shitcoins, just out of interest. I got wrecked on shitcoins in 2017, 2000. Well, actually, no, I have to be completely honest. I got wrecked on shitcoins, Bitcoin mining, not understanding the economics, and I also got partly wrecked on Bitcoin.
Well, there is a bit of a deep canvassing effect, right? Because, you were hearing people say that, oh, you shouldn't be doing those shitcoins, you shouldn't be trading those shitcoins, blah, blah, blah. You did it anyway. You made a lot of money on paper. You lost a lot of money on paper, and you came all the way back down, and then you said, fuck. Maybe the people who were telling me that this was all a bunch of bullshit were right the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And so that we're playing that role now for the people, for the new entrants who are coming in the market. And we'll be here for you when you get wrecked. And listen, I know a lot of guys who made like $20 million in the ICO boom on paper, right? They quote unquote made $20 million, and by the time it was over, they had next to nothing. That's how hard the tide goes out when the tide does go out. So if you're all in on shitcoins right now and you see life-changing money on the table, take it. Take it. You know what I mean? Take it. Like, if it's there for the taking, fucking take it. You're already in. I'm not telling you to trade shitcoins, but if you've already bought them and you have life-changing money, fucking take that shit. Don't get greedy.
Yeah.
Peter's
mistake was
he got too greedy last time.
Yeah, way greedy.
And store it in somewhere where it won't melt away. Right? Yeah. This is why
in Bitcoin.
Yeah, but you can get greedy in Bitcoin as well. Like I could have just got wrecked on the mining alone. Like greed, like that fear and greed thing does drive you. It doesn't matter whether it's Bitcoin, shitcoins, or anything. Like that fear and greed can drive most human emotions and decisions. It's a good test of it.
We have a word. We have a word that helps you through this in Bitcoin. And that word is HODL. HODL. HODL through the fear. HODL through the greed. In the bear market, it's going to be fear driving the bus. In the bear market, it's going to be greed driving the bus. HODL through, walk the middle path,
Full disclosure, for those who don't know me, I probably have admitted this somewhere along the way in the past, but when I started learning about this, first place I was able to get some Bitcoin in New York. It's very restricted. I had to use Coinbase. And of course, there was, well, not of course, but at the time, there was Litecoin and Ethereum on there, and that was it. And I thought I was going to, make more Bitcoin by trading because I'm smart enough. And I tried. And I did actually pretty well because I learned how to use stop loss orders. And I got stopped out at a really good point in November of 2018. And the market crashed. And I was on a cruise with my family. And I was like, all right, I got to stop this. I'm out. I'm back into cash in my account. I'm just going to leave it there. And then my Coinbase account got closed down. At the same time, my bank account got shut down. So I'm like, okay, I think there's a connection. But I got my money out of Coinbase. And then I had to figure out how else I could put it back into Bitcoin. And I was lucky enough that by the time I got it all worked out, the price had dropped so low that I ended up with more Bitcoin than I had before. So I got a very lucky trade out of that. But it's not because I wanted to be a trader or anything else. I just wanted as much Bitcoin as possible.
There's very few people that I've met in this industry who haven't at one point or another bought some shitcoin or traded some shitcoin. Like I would struggle to even think of someone off the top of my head. Perhaps Russell Okung is like one of the few people that appears to have only ever done Bitcoin. I think even that that crazy Dita Bob dude, wasn't he like tweeting about some shitcoin at one point? Like, I can't remember what the one it was. Like, I think, I think most people at one point or another have done it.
I owned, I think I owned 4 million Doge at one point.
Dude,
I'm pretty sure.
You'd be a billionaire now.
I'm pretty sure. I mean,
hey,
listen,
I was gonna make my own.
But,
I was convinced I could make the next Bitcoin. Back in the day, I even reached out to Jimmy Song to find out what it would take to get a 1 hour consultant with him, and he wanted a full Bitcoin, and it was like $4,000 at the time. I'm like, hell no, I ain't paying you $4,000 to talk to you for an hour.
One of the other
and he
things
would just tell you that your ideas don't work.
Oh yeah, I was going to be wasted money.
So, but one of the other things I've like thought a lot about recently is like the net effect of kind of like yelling at people about shitcoins and like how effective is it? And I'm not sure how effective it is. I think most people, once they've made the decision, they're going to do it.
Yeah,
and it's very difficult to change their mind. It's I obviously get a lot of emails from listeners, and they're like, "Oh, I listen to your show. I'm Bitcoin only now," or they come and say, "I'm thinking of going Bitcoin only now. What do you think?" And I always have to say, if you've got some shitcoins now, you might sell them now for Bitcoin, and you'll watch those shitcoins go up, and you'll get the FOMO again. But the reality is, you don't know if they will, and you don't know if you would erode that up or erode that down. Like, just by holding Bitcoin, you feel quite secure and quite safe. But I sometimes, like, I've stopped yelling at shitcoiners, really.
It comes down to time preference, basically, right? Shitcoiners just have a totally different time preference than Bitcoiners do. Bitcoiners are thinking about this in 5, 10, 20-year time scales. Shitcoiners are thinking about this in 5, 10, 20-day time scales. So you're not going to be able to talk to somebody who's got a 20-day framework in their head when you have a 20-year framework in your head. It just, the two things, they don't, it's like oil and water,
I don't think they're going away either. I think we will continually have this cycle of shitcoins.
I had this epiphany recently that like shitcoins are not going to go away until the dollar collapses, because the dollar is literally so shitty that it's actually better to hold your money in Dogecoin. And like that realization, I was like, oh man, what we're really witnessing is sort of like this, Bitcoin is like a credit default swap on the entire world, and the price appreciation right now is just the premiums on the swap. And the underlying hasn't even gone bust yet. And when it goes bust, that's when you really get paid out. So the thing that I think shitcoiners need to understand is this is essentially a game of musical chairs. And if you don't have a chair, like right now the music is slowing. And if you don't have a chair when the music stops, you are fucked. And guess what? Dogecoin is not a chair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I can't disagree with you. Disagree with you on that point. It's especially.
I also feel like the shitcoiners are like prodigal sons.
Yeah, but it's all,
you know what I mean? Like they're going to be the last to come into Bitcoin.
But it's a little bit like the GameStop thing, right? The YOLO, don't give a fuck. I read the book by the guy who set up
nihilism.
Yeah, I read the book by the guy who set up the Wall Street Bets subreddit. If you read that book, it's a really interesting insight into the traders there. A lot of it isn't about sensible trading strategies. It is, what is my YOLO shot? Can I turn $200 into 10 million? Like, can I turn $10,000 into 5 million? What is the trade I need to do? And a lot of people are going in and getting absolutely fucking wrecked. And every now and again, this like hero comes out who made some weird trade, got lucky. Like I say, his $2,000 bet suddenly becomes 10 million and he walks away and he's an absolute fucking hero. But there's a whole culture around that. And I understand why that culture exists, because if you like you say, it's nihilism. I look at what's happening with the house prices in the UK right now. They are going up like fucking, like it's ridiculous. The price of the house I wanted to buy before lockdown compared to what it is now, it's like 20% higher. I mean, it's a massive jump in house prices. But I look at that and go, okay, look, my kids, right? My son's 17, my daughter's 11. They're going to be 5 to 10 years away from buying a house. How the fuck are they going to buy a house? So I think there's people that are like loaded with debt. They know they can't afford houses. A lot of the career opportunities look shitty. And it's like, fuck this. Let's YOLO. Let's see if I can do the money shot. Let's throw a Hail Mary and see what happens. I get that. Yeah. And in some ways, it's kind of like, I almost don't want to take that away from people. It's like people going to Vegas and having a blowout and going for their Hail Mary there. I get why it's happening. And I think that's why I understand. That's why you can't turn people off that.
Yeah, the fiat money system creates the impression that there's giant injustices out there, and there is. The people at the top of the money spigot have all kinds of insider information. I mean, you look at somebody like Nancy Pelosi and her husband who runs a trading operation. You can't tell me they haven't made millions of dollars off of her knowledge of insider information, or the fact that the government's going to write words on paper that gives one company an advantage over another. So we've got so much brokenness in the systems that have been created because of fiat money. Just the laws that get written because people can, and then the enforcers that enforce those laws because, as I said earlier, they depend on their salaries. And all of this is perpetuated by a few people that can control the money. It's literally, it's everything. And so it's totally understandable why the average dude wants to, strike at gold if he thinks he can, like his one shot at this or whatever he thinks it might be. But if we lived in a world where you could trust your money, you could then trust your ability to just go work hard like you already do. Most people already work hard to take care of their families. And then you could just save and you'll be fine. And prices are likely to go down and your savings are likely to buy you more in the future. And then you don't have to gamble and incentives change and you end up with more free time. Yep. And life just gets better and better and better. And this shit just goes away, right? So when the money's fixed, all this bullshit goes away.
I agree with Jim. And Pete, you said basically like you don't want to take that away from people. I do want to take that away from people because
it'll be taken by itself because of better money. I agree with you. Sorry to cut you off.
That's true. I mean, but it's fatalism, right? Like it is nihilism. It is the belief that they don't have a future. And I would like to give people a future. I would like them to be rationally optimistic about what they can build, what they can do in their life, and then I want them to endeavor to start building it. Like, for instance, the compounded annual growth rate of Bitcoin, the CAGR of Bitcoin, is 200% year over year. Something like 213% actually, right, for the last decade. So let's say that those are pretty spectacular gains. Let's say it gets cut in half going forward, and you have 100% compounded annual growth rate, right? If you put $5 a day every day for the next 10 years into Bitcoin, if the rate of return is 100% annual.
Yeah, but don't miss my point. Sorry.
$5.6 million at the end of that. So that's what's on the table.
Don't be confused about my point.
It's rationally building for a future.
That's it.
No, but I'm saying like
I've dedicated my life to this.
You feel sympathy for these people.
Don't get me wrong. I'm saying I've dedicated my life to like working on Bitcoin.
Yeah, they're going to end up with
what
nothing.
I do, right? I produce content for people who want to learn about Bitcoin. That's my life. I absolutely agree with you. What I'm saying is that I find it very hard to yell at somebody who wants to go and do this stuff. Like, I'll tell them why. Every single person, when they ask a question, the texts I get about Dogecoin, like you're getting, or Ethereum, I tell them exactly the same story. I'm like, go and read my pin thread on Twitter. You'll see I've been through this.
Yep.
The only way to do this is be slow, be patient, work hard, save, stack your stats, and have a 4-year minimum time horizon, but be looking at a decade. Everyone gets the same story, but I've given up yelling at people about shitcoins, because all it does is it creates a fight with no outcome. So look, if you want to go and do that, go and do that. I don't think you should.
There's different approaches, right? So I agree that like tough love, basically yelling at somebody, is not the right approach for everybody, but it is the right approach for people who tend to be more conservative, right? For people who tend to be more liberal, you need to lead with empathy and sympathy, right? You need to, tell them that you care about them and that, this is in their best interest. I'm not going to yell at you, but I just want you to know, blah, blah, blah. Whereas a conservative person, you can just be like, you stupid fuck. That's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. What do you do, right? Like, it's different approaches for different people.
I see it as I'm not yelling at people that want to participate. I'm yelling at people who want to believe I'm wrong and their shit is going to the moon and they're promoting it. That's who I yell at. It's like, you can go do whatever you want. I believe in freedom of choice, and I believe the market should experiment with shitcoins all day long. It's the promoting of them. It's the equating
I agree with
of
you.
them to Bitcoin that I can't stand. There's just no equating.
Jim is hitting on it. We should not be upset with people who are trading shitcoins, who are caught up in the hype, blah, blah, blah. But this is the line in the sand for me. The people who are promoting shitcoins, yes, I do have a fucking problem with you. I have a big fucking problem with you. And we're going to have it out in front of everybody. That should be the line in the sand for everybody. You talk about like purity tests being sort of endless. Well, that's a pretty clear distinction. I think everybody can agree that is an immoral behavior, and that needs to be rooted out by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, well, that I tell you, the weird one on Chamath was the Bitclout thing. I just did not understand why you would go and create such an obvious, stupid system. Like, I get the idea of creating that. It looked to me like a modern day fan club, right? You create a walled garden to create content for fans, blah, blah, blah. But to wrap a stupid shitcoin in it the way they did and release it without actually getting permission from anyone and then clearly load up the value of themselves and their friends, it was just so poorly thought through and lacked so much self-awareness that I thought it was quite staggering.
Do you know what I've heard from really rich people is essentially this? They had to sit on the sideline in 2017 during the ICO boom because they knew that all of the ICOs were illegal security offerings, every single one of them. And they all had too much money to get, the regulatory heat, the scrutiny that would come with their investments in those projects. So this time around, they have new structures that aren't illegal securities offerings, right? This is why JPEGs are trading for $69 million. You know what I mean? Because the rich participants who had to sit on the side last time are going to be damned if they're kept out of grifting money from retail investors this time around. That's what they do. That's their bread and butter. And now they have legal structures that allow it.
I would speculate that Chamath and his buddies who created Bitclout were looking for another subversive way to obfuscate the facts and position themselves to win big at the expense of other people who will never do their homework and will simply go off the reputation of the person they believe is an honest investor, just trying to help them learn some stuff and clue them into something. When he promotes Bitclout, he is pumping his own bags, and I bet most people wouldn't know that. Now, I would, without knowing the actual facts, I would be willing to bet that if you dug deep enough, that most of his business deals have similar metrics behind them. He finds ways to use regulatory capture, words on paper written by governments that give benefits to some corporations over others, that allow for investments to be made by only certain people and not others. And when you can play at that level, you get to steal money from unwary people all over the world that have no idea you're getting their investment money. They just think you're a great guy trying to point them to the future, and you realize the future came and went, and you're just picking up the pieces from all those idiots that didn't see what you got to see because you're on the inside. And this is what all the bigwigs get. This is what all the rich people get because they're closest to the money spigot, because the entire fucking system is broken because the motherfuckers who print money out of thin air and steal our productivity in the process, right? Everything is broken because of it.
I knew Chamath was intellectually disingenuous when he posted that thread on Twitter about inflation being helpful for the poor.
Unbelievable.
He knows that's not
Fucking
accurate.
insane.
He knows inflation helps the rich. You know why? Because the rich own assets, and asset inflation is what's caused by money printing. So the rich get richer. Meanwhile, the poor only own their labor, and labor is stagnant. You know what I mean? So
I
they
think
get
anyone
left
who's
behind.
successful
Putting out a thread like that
and
is just,
has built a profile,
you're such a piece of shit.
one of the
to
most
do
important
that.
things they can do is find somebody who sits alongside them and is willing to call them out privately and keep an eye on what they're doing. Like I have it with my sound engineer, Danny. We have a very honest and open relationship. I'm like, Danny, if I'm pushing it too far, if I'm trolling too hard, if I'm being a bit of a dick, you've got to tell me and try and rein me in. Like everybody needs that. And what seemed like, I actually take it back, whatever period, maybe it's 6 months or a year. I actually quite liked listening to Chamath in interviews. There was things he said. I was like, that's really smart. That's really interesting. I kind of like that without knowing too much about him. And then he seemed to get this, and then his profile seemed to shut up, and he went through a period where it was kind of like, he became very vocal on governance ideas regarding the city. I think it was like San Francisco, became very vocal on a number of issues, and he was seeing a lot of likes and retweets, and I think he's got like 1 million followers. And I think perhaps he's lacking that person who's like pulling him in and saying, look, hold on, dude, you really need to be thinking about what you're saying. This isn't coming across well. And I think a lot of people need to think about having that person in their life. And I think he seems to be missing that. One of the things though is like, I don't always like talking about people. So, I mean, I doubt he'll listen to this, but I would actually rather do a face-to-face with him and talk about this with him. And I think that would be a good interview to do at some point. But I think there's another thing going on, Jim, where you talk about this. I think there must be like an ego competition within Silicon Valley, where like I don't think Bitclout is just about making more money. Like when you're a billionaire, how much more do you need? I think part of it is an ego about creating the next big thing. Like Jack Dorsey has created Square, Twitter, a whole bunch of stuff. Elon Musk has created SpaceX and Tesla and the Boring Company. I'm wondering if he's thinking more legacy. All right, well, if we get this BitClout thing right, it might be a Twitter competitor. We might take down. I might have put my line in the sand and done something here, like create his legacy. I don't think he's in it for the money anymore. But I just think there is like a group of people there in Silicon Valley who are. There's another thing going on here as well. I was talking about this last night with Jack Mallers. The thing about Bitcoin is you have skin in the game. I have skin in the game. Jim, you do. HODL, you do. We've all got skin in the game. It's really important for us for Bitcoin to succeed because we've got so much of our net wealth tied up in it. If Bitcoin just suddenly crashed, that would be very, very damaging to us. Chamath can hold way more Bitcoin than all of us and then also hold billions of dollars in investments and in the bank. Bitcoin fails. Materially, his life isn't going to change that much. So he can just fucking go and do other things. Like this is important for us, for our family and our future. And I think there's that's another dynamic going on as well.
Well, I think a lot of the VCs have taken the scattershot approach that they take in venture capital investing where, they put money into every bucket and then whichever one is the winner, it's going to have a winner take all effect because that's how network effects operate, right? And so then, they guarantee themselves in the winner. And I think for those of us who are smaller in terms of capital allocation size, it behooves us to actually do the work and pick the winners and see who's actually going to make it, right? Yeah. Whereas if you're a richer investor, you can sit above it and just invest in everything. Yeah.
With what you said about Silicon Valley folks trying to one-up each other and, because they don't really need the money. I think I would agree with that. But if you got that kind of money and you want to be respected, you can take the time to build something that provides real value to real people. You can also be completely transparent about exactly how you benefit by it, exactly how it works, exactly what the benefit is people are going to get. I mean, they basically, with that Bitclout, they basically front ran famous people by creating accounts for people that didn't join the platform and then reaching out to them and say, hey, you already got some Bitclout tokens. You just got to go claim them. Basically get people suckered in to retweet out that this is a great platform because of, greed, like give the rich guy a little bit more money, a little bit more, spotlight on his fading career maybe, or whatever the angle might be. But, there's so much obfuscation in the way that was built. Like, if you got millions and billions and you really don't need the money, why bother creating bullshit? I just cannot fathom. Just go on vacation. Just go live your life.
It's a real temptation they put out to people as well. I don't know if you went onto it and had a look and see what your account was. Your account's always getting fucking banned. But like, I went onto mine, and there's one point my account was worth $60,000, right? Like, there's $60,000. You see, it's absolutely without. I'm happy to admit, I looked at that and thought, Jesus, what if that became $200,000? Like, I can cash that out, and that's $200,000. I could buy another rest of my, buy two. I could buy four more Bitcoin. Like, and where is the ethical line in that? Should I do that? Shouldn't I do that?
Well, the ethical line is you post on Twitter, this is insane bullshit, but all I got to do is claim this by tweeting. So I'm going to tweet out, but I don't mean any of it. So here we go. Everybody watch. I'm going to take this money, and all you idiots who put it up there, it's coming to me now. So don't be an idiot and do this again. I'm going to show you how stupid this is. I'm going to go claim my money, and I'm doing it out in the public, right? And then let them shut you down and prevent you from doing it, and point how bad their scam actually is, or they let you take it, and then you continue to trash them forever about such bullshit that they created. But I got rich off of it. But all you other fools are just being played. That's what you could do. That keeps your integrity and gets you the money.
Well, I thought I could Bitcoiners could actually essentially all go and claim theirs, and then donate it all to open source dev and just suck the money out and give it to Bitcoiners.
And and that would increase your integrity even higher. Take the money and give it away, especially if you may not need it.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's how you deal with this shit.
I think it would be great to have the conversation with Chamath and not in a hostile way. Just put these things to him to see what his actual defense would be. I would definitely be interested in seeing it.
I'd be interested, but I don't think he'd be genuine. I think he'd try to play you. I think he thinks he's smarter than everybody else because he's got so much money. I think most rich people do think that about themselves.
Well, to be fair, Jim, he is smarter than Peter. He would totally grease Peter.
Dude. He might have a higher IQ than all of us. I have no idea, but I don't think he's an honest man.
Yeah,
so I don't care if he's smarter.
I think everyone I interview is smarter than me, so that's really not saying anything, dude. I think I could weed some questions out of him, but I still would like to do it at
Peter,
some point.
For all the flack you get from a lot of people on Twitter, you're not a dumb man, all right? You've done something that I wish I could have done. You've created a business in the Bitcoin space where all you have to do is fucking talk all day.
You could do it,
You don't have to lug tools around like I do. You don't have to you might have to... You have contracts with people, so you've had to sell yourself. But people are paying you to do this, right? I mean, I want to be very clear why I'm here today, because I'm going to get some flack from some plebs out there that think I shouldn't have come on this show. I already got pushback. People told me, I hope I never see you go on his show. And I think to myself, okay, whatever, dude. I'm not here for you, okay? And the reason I'm on here is for me, right? If you get some ratings and you get some more money, great. Because as far as I'm concerned, you're putting value out there, right? You give it to me for free. I listen to almost every single podcast because I learn stuff from your guests. Sometimes I laugh at you because you come across really stupid sometimes, but I don't give a shit. You ask great questions many, many times. So I've learned a ton by your guests. And I'm hoping that me being on here brings value to somebody else. That's why I'm here. Because I want to bring value in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I'd love to earn a living doing it one day. But right now, I build houses for a living, been doing it for 3 decades. I am slowly inching towards retirement and liquidating everything. I've got a plan already in motion. And so maybe one day I can simply talk about Bitcoin all day and people will pay me. That'd be great. So for all you people out there listening, I'm for hire.
Well, listen, there's a few things to unpack there. Firstly, thank you for saying that and listening to the show regularly. I appreciate that. And if you wanted to do something like this, I'll help you. I mean, you just set up a podcast. I'll talk you through everything I've known and what I've created, and you could go and create that, Jim. And I think you've got a moment in time right now where if you did it, people would be listening. Your profile's just suddenly gone up, and you never know. Someone might start sponsoring you.
It's crazy.
So look, if you want to do that, You hit me up anytime and I'll share everything I've known. In terms of like saying stupid things, of course, I made a decision when I started this podcast. I was going to learn in public. I was going to be completely transparent, not fake it till you make it. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. This is what I struggle with. This is where I think you're wrong. I've stuck to my guns on that. And there are a lot of people who hate that, but there are also a lot of people who like that. And I think it works as a show. So look, it is what it is. I don't. No, it's not saying I regret a lot, but like I stand by my decision to make a show that was going to be that way, and it's never going to change. It doesn't matter how much people yell at me; it's never going to change. And I just look at the shows I make with Shinobi. Right, they are not the most downloaded. People want to see Bitcoin to the moon. They want to hear Lynn Alden. They want to hear Willy Woo, right? My last Willy Woo show did 140,000 downloads. My last Shinobi one did 25,000. But I do the Shinobi ones every week because the slight difference between those two shows is despite it doing like a sixth of the Willy show, it gets the most emails that come to me. So that gets the most response where people saying, I loved that. I didn't understand how UTXOs work. I get it a bit more now. So look, I stand by it. People can yell at me all they want. I absolutely fucking stand by it. Because I don't make a show for the guests and I don't make a show for the people who don't listen, who yell at me. I make a show for the people who do listen. And when they stop listening or they say you're getting it wrong, then things will change.
Yeah, I would have to say that our learning trajectory has been very similar. That is, I started looking at this space late 2016. I found your podcast very early right after you had launched it. I maybe missed a couple dozen episodes. I'm not sure, but
the Shitcoin ones.
I realized that some of the I missed the Craig Wright one. I never went back to listen.
Don't bother.
Whatever. But I needed to get the answers to a lot of the questions you were asking. So you were one of my resources. Your podcast, Adam Meister, was always helpful to me. The World Crypto Network with Thomas Hunt. He had a lot of great guests, a lot of people that have come through his space, and Tone Vase's podcast. A lot of smart people that I've gotten to listen to. When he was on Every Day with Jimmy Song and Giacomo Zucco, I felt like I was in university, listening to those guys. So, without their free content, without their deep explanations of stuff, there's no way I would have the conviction I have, And then I took that and I took it as far as I had to. I went and learned every random related thing I could. I read dozens and dozens of white papers of shitcoins, wanting to believe something was going to be worth it. Wanting to see how were they going to do this a little different, that this is really worth something. And I couldn't find it ever. And it was, wait, am I not understanding this, or are they just blowing up smoke people's asses over here, And I'd go back to the technical arguments. I'd go back to the podcast and just go, I got to reconfirm what it is I learned here. And so I couldn't even buy Bitcoin for 6 months. I watched the price almost triple. And I thought, what am I doing? Am I in this or not? What the fuck? I didn't know what to do. But I had to get over a hump. I had to know that I was right, at least believe deep down in my heart that I was right, that I did my homework, and that I was, and then I started telling people, and they all thought I was nuts. And I was like, I don't care. I've done the homework, you haven't. And I'm still here over 4 years later. And I know it was one of the best decisions of my life. Not to mention the amount of genuine friends that I now have in this world that are real people compared to the fake friends. A lot of them, and I've had some great friends in my life, but most of the people I know around me are fake, unfortunately. And they're nice people, and I get along great with them, but they don't see the world correctly. They believe in the state. They vote all the time, whatever, all this stuff that's normal activity that's just a lot of fakeness created by the fiat money system. So,
well, again, there's a lot more to unpack there. Again, I mean, like one of the things I will say, I've said this before, but like one of the little secrets is that sometimes I ask questions I know the answer to, because every show could have a new person listening who doesn't understand that. So people are like, "Oh, you've been doing this for 4 years and you still don't get this shit." It's like, because it still needs explaining to the person who might be their first show they're listening to. Nobody is harmed by a basic question being asked. Other times I do just struggle with it. I'm definitely a more creative person, and HODL, having worked in the film industry, will know that some people are, especially on set, he'll know some people are technical and great with technical equipment. They couldn't creatively think through a storyline, and vice versa. That's just the world we live in. I'm more on the creative side, but I've learned so much. I've learned so much from like Marty Bent's pretty much daily email is my best resource for learning from. We've all got different resources that we use and that we learn from, and I think we're just so blessed that we have this such range of broad content in the space. You know, if you want basic stuff, you've got mine. If you want more Austrian economics, you've got Stefan Lavera. If you want more technical, you've got Marty and Matt HODL. You know, if you want just like really good philosophical readings, you've got Gigi, you've got Breedlove, like fucking destroying it. Like we've got such a broad range of content that suits whatever potential Bitcoiner you are, whatever place you are in your journey, that's available to you. And I think that's actually a really fucking good thing. And it's good that we're not all the same cheerleading. You just summarized it. But
you summarized it though. That's what you have to learn to really get this. You have to do a little bit in all those disciplines, or you're never going to see the real big picture here. But that's what I've done. That's what we've all done.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is that I think also what we're missing, and I've lost my own objectivity sometimes with this, is that, and again, there's a conversation I had with my engineer recently, is that sometimes you can end up cheerleading Bitcoin too much. As a content creator, and then you lose your objectivity and you're not prodding and poking. Like I took my laser eyes away on Twitter because I was like, shit, I'm just cheerleading this now. And I'm not sitting back and going, hold on, there's tough questions we need to ask. Like I'll give you a really good topic of conversation that I love getting into because it's the state. And the reason I like getting into the idea of the state is because I'm not an anarchist and I don't believe in anarchy beyond theory. I think the theory of anarchy is great. I think there's people out there who can who have a theory behind communism, which thinks it's great. There's two things with the state. I don't think it's going away. I think it can change, but I also don't believe in a world with no state. That doesn't mean I like the state. It doesn't mean I'm a cuck. I just think that's like the natural organization of humans to have some kind of centralized, you know this, HODL, we've texted about this. We have some kind of centralized governance, a way of organizing people. So rather than just go, it's anarchy or nothing, I'd rather debate the idea of the state. How do you make it better? How do you improve it? Like, should you vote? Shouldn't you vote? I mean, you're laughing, HODL, but we've talked about this.
No, I mean, my personal philosophy is that, you know, Bitcoin is akin to the printing press and the way the printing press dematerialized the church and the power of the church. And I do think that Bitcoin over time will, dematerialize the power of the state, and it will distribute it, and it will be less centralized. But this is going to be a really long process. So the idea that the state will collapse next year, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, I don't see it happening. I think that we're going to have to be realist and pragmatist, no matter how libertarian or, maybe if you're an anarcho-capitalist, you know what I mean? Like, it is a bit of a meme ideology, but fuck it, memes change the world, you know what I mean? Like, ultimately, I think that's the direction that we're heading, but we're not living in that world now. And if you, I don't know, it's like there are compromises as we go through our day. I mean, everybody who's on Twitter being like, I think the dumbest one is the people who are, like LARPing about, we're going to take down the state. And then all they do is, fucking make fun of Peter for whatever reason. It's like, all right, you've aimed all your ire at one, pudgy podcaster in Britain who has no power. You know what I mean? Like, that. What a fucking pathetic LARP that is compared to like, we're going to take down the state. You're not doing shit. You know what I mean? Like, none of us are. This is bigger than us. And it's bigger than even, like, whatever collective power you have together, Like, it's going to take a really long time to have a change of that magnitude. Humanity has these sort of different, like, leviathans, right? And, like, at first it was God, and then it was the church, and then it was the state. And I think the one that we're heading into will be the network. And the network will be the new leviathan that, is sort of the coordination mechanism for human, life, essentially.
Well, but it's good to debate it.
Nuance, it's complicated.
Yeah, I think just the binary state, no state, it kind of misses the point that we're stuck with the state, right? It's here for now. Like, how do we improve things? Yeah. What do we stand up for? What do we stand against? Should you vote? Shouldn't you? I mean, someone criticized you, HODL, for voting, but you said you voted for lower taxes. Like. These are important things to discuss.
Yeah, I want lower taxes.
Yeah, but if we just make it binary, like unless you're an anarcho-capitalist and you want complete destruction of the state immediately, then you're a cuck, go fuck yourself. I think it's just a waste of time. Like there's nothing that can be achieved with that. I think it's important to get into these topics. Plus, another thing that's important to consider is like people are different. Like you and I, we speak the same language, but America is very, very different from Europe. Like very different. And and the majority of the leading Bitcoiners are American or based in America, and that leads a lot of the narrative. Like a lot of the Bitcoin narrative feels very much American libertarian narrative, but there are Bitcoin voices in Europe that have a slightly different approach, slightly different, very different opinions. And it's this marketplace of ideas that we should be working through. We should be debating. So that's my shout on that. But Jim, I did say, because
I feel very libertarian. That's my personal, sort of political ideology. Like I definitely lean libertarian right. But the problem with being a libertarian is that no one else is. And so you have to live in this world full of non-libertarians that always want to coerce you into doing this and that, right? So like you make concessions as you go through your life as a libertarian. It's kind of a shitty political ideology to be, really. It would probably be better to be a desperate statist. Although the silver lining for us is we have Bitcoin,
Exactly. Well, look, I'm conscious of the time.
Libertarian principles are the default human perspective. It's just that people have been indoctrinated away from that through fiat education, through the government school system. So they don't know that they should be libertarian. They don't even know what it is. But when you explain it and they can visualize it, they realize that pretty much everybody's libertarian. They don't want to be ruled by others. They don't want to be taxed away. People that say they have a claim on your productivity, for what reason? They're supposed to represent us, but they don't. They control us now. It's gone way too far. And again, this all ties back to the money. I see the state disappearing over time down to very tiny collectives of people that manage themselves in smaller groups. And I see that happening because the incentive of Bitcoin. What I anticipate, the vision I see is that as each individual, let me back it up for a second. What is government? What is the state? Just a collection of people, right? All humans, all individuals, every single human on the planet, every single day of their lives makes thousands of decisions to remove current and future uneasiness. That is a motherfucking selfish perspective. Damn it. How are they so damn selfish to only look out for themselves? And yet we all do it. It's natural. You make decisions every day to remove your own current or future uneasiness. This is a founding principle of Austrian economics. This is what all humans do. It's programmed into us. And so every human will always want to do this. So they learn what this Bitcoin thing is. You got somebody like Cynthia Lummis, who's now in the Congress. She gets it. She's never going to quit Bitcoin. She's never going to not try to make this thing be successful, as will every other individual one at a time, regardless of where they are. Now, we need a whole bunch of idiot old people to just die, right? So if the younger generation who's willing to look at this thing, who's not already rich, who says, wait a minute, I'm looking out for myself, I need to get this. Little by little by little, all the incentives will change. When the money the enforcers get paid is worthless compared to that Bitcoin they bought a few years ago, they will quit. They will stop enforcing bullshit rules by their overlords for the benefit of their overlords and not them. You see, the incentives change when everybody sees that they can control their own finances and their own futures. All right? And that's what Bitcoin gives everybody. So the state will disappear. I say regularly it's going to take 2 generations. I hope I'm wrong, but I just think that's what it's going to take, 20 to 40 years.
Well, listen, Jim, we had this conversation offline beforehand, and I'm conscious of time, but I have a fractured relationship with the plebs, let's say. I have some I get on with, some that hate me. But I did say you can come on and ask any question you want. Like you bring anything you want, any questions you want, you can bring them to the table. We had that conversation beforehand.
I don't have any specific questions right now. I do want to say one thing. You mentioned something about being an interviewer, and sometimes you know the answer to the question. I think that's very good. I think the best interviewers know the answers to all their questions. Like a lawyer never asks a question he doesn't already know the answer to. The point is that the more studied you are on your subject, the better of an interviewer you will be, because you will draw out the real facts. And so your interviews have gotten better. because you yourself have gotten smarter. And it's those interviews where you didn't know when or how to push back that you got the most flack from, as far as I could tell. Because people are saying, you're such an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You should have called him on this, that, or the other thing. Okay, well, I'm just not there yet. What am I going to do? So I see your effort as genuine. I don't hate you like a lot of the plebs do. I think you've made a ton of mistakes, but I don't trash talk you like some of the people I actually like and who are probably going to trash talk me for being here. But
They're definitely
you
going to
have
trash
way
talk
too
you.
many. Wait. You have way too many respectable guests on your show. If they can be on here, I can lower myself to be on here too, if that's what someone wants to call it. I don't care.
Well, listen.
I am here for me, okay? I'm not here for you. I'm not here for HODL. I'm here for me. I want people to get that I'm genuine. I'm who I am. I'm not going to bullshit you, right? If you find any value in what I say, that's why I'm here. Like I said,
Listen,
I've been pretty successful in my business all these years. I'm going to be okay. I don't really need to work for the rest of my life, but I enjoy it. And one of the things, let me just, a little small tangent here. I realized a long time ago that I'm actually a teacher. I started a business, I'm building homes, and all along the way, I'm teaching every new employee, I'm teaching every customer, I'm teaching my suppliers about things. I'm constantly having to explain things to everybody. I know how an entire house gets built. I know what the plumbers have to do, the electricians, the roofers. I know everything about every aspect of how to build a house. Except for new stuff that comes out, I know what's going on here. So I teach people all the time. So when I get into this thing like Bitcoin, I come to the realization I know a lot more than a lot of other people. So I think I'd be a very good teacher. And so I want to use my voice to help other people get the knowledge they need to make the right decisions. That's why I feel I'm here. Maybe that's why my profile blew up. Maybe that's why I was meant to tweet out a toxic tweet and Chamath was meant to be a dickhead to me. And maybe that's why I'm here. I don't know. Fate has its own reasons.
Well,
but I'm here, okay?
look,
so for those who want to get some value out of it, I'm hoping I can provide some.
well, you need to start your show. That's for sure. But you.
Oh well, I was going to say something earlier, but I was reached out to by another podcaster who I respect, who wanted to do a collaboration with me, and I'm definitely willing to. So I'm going to see where that goes. Maybe I will have a partnership.
You're going to get some shit though for not
see.
holding my feet to the fire. Like HODL's been getting shit
By the
since he
way-
got his.
Well, what was I supposed to hold
Peter,
your
let
feet
me-
to the fire?
I'm just
I
saying-
complained about you. I said what I need to say about how I think you've done your thing. I don't have much to complain about.
But HODL had it since it came out that he was an employee of what Bitcoin did and was employee of the month.
I saw all that. That was weird.
Yeah.
Dude, here's the thing, Peter. This like secret plan you have where you bring on like quote unquote plebs and then you sort of patch up the relationship with the plebs.
It's not going to work.
It's not gonna work. It's
No,
not
it's
gonna
not.
work. All it's gonna do is anybody who's considered a quote unquote pleb and they come on this podcast, they're gonna get jumped, like
Banished.
Jim or
They're
like
gonna get
myself.
banished.
Yeah, so like you're like an anti-pleb centrifuge. You know what I
but
mean?
this
You,
is
like,
my secret
turn
plan,
plebs
dude.
into non-plebs.
This is how I because
Oh, you're trying to de-plebify things?
Yeah, I am because
I thought your secret plan was to worm your way in.
No.
you know?
So when I had my
Like the status cuck you are.
when I had my
on
last
MI6's orders.
when I had my last meeting with MI6 before I jet off to El Salvador, one of the instructions was I need to break down the pleb movement because as spooks we see them as quite dangerous, and so we came up with this strategy: is that one by one I'll win them over and cause the pleb movement to self-destruct, and it's working. I mean, look, HODL, I saw you fighting with Angry Stoney.
You can't kill it. You can't kill it because the pleb movement is a movement of truth.
I don't know, man. It feels like it's self-destruction sometimes. It's like a race to the bottom.
No,
Who can-
the plebs are the people who are really searching for truth, in my opinion. That's what I see. They're regular folks who find the signal through the noise and they can't stand the noise anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not well known for the most part. Neither was I. Nobody knew who I was a year ago, or 6 months ago, or 2 months ago.
Here's what's going on. The Bitcoin Twitter is a standing army. And the dopamine rations are low at the moment because there hasn't been a price pump in a while. And so when the dopamine rations are low, the army will fight to keep their skills sharp. That's all that's going on at the moment. You know what I mean?
Fight.
By the way, there's nothing more cringe than to define what the plebs are or speak on behalf of the plebs. You know what I mean? There is no...
That's what the king of the
there's
plebs
no
would say. So listen,
Is that you, HODL? Are you considered the king?
God no. God no.
so Jim, are we going to see you in Miami?
I don't want to be a representative either.
I think Dieter Bob is the king.
Well, I don't want to be a representative or a spokesperson for plebs either. I have my own impression of what I think it means, and it may or may not be correct.
Well, listen,
It is what it
this is
Peter,
all
you
useful.
could always just stop saying stupid. You could just stop saying stupid shit at any point. You know what I mean? Like you could just
Why
stop
would I-
trolling on Twitter.
Why would
at
I do
any
that?
point you wanted to?
Why would I
Well,
stop
then-
doing
then,
that?
you
Everyone
know,
else does it.
You wouldn't have a fractured relationship.
I just
like you
think
said.
British trolling is just a lot more subtle. And
You know that everything you say is pissing people off. Like, what was the tweet you made? And then you told me your Twitter was unusable. Oh, you getting the fucking vaccine. You were like, now my Twitter's unusable. It's like, yep, no shit. You know what I mean? You posted this on Bitcoin Twitter. Like,
yeah, but in
You knew it
fairness,
was gonna
I was
happen.
wearing
You
a
knew it was gonna
tinfoil.
fucking
I was
happen.
wearing a tinfoil hat. Like I did try and
Yeah,
make it
that's
as like sarcastic as possible, but. I mean, I tell you, it's a very different. When you guys are asleep, Twitter's a very different experience in the mornings when it's just the British and the
it's
Europeans.
just like, hello, governor. Would you
It's
like
very-
a spot of tea?
Yeah, it's very simple. Well, actually, you say that. I just got tweeted
That sounds
by.
terrible.
No,
Fuck
dude,
that.
I did just get tweeted by Yorkshire Tea, which is one of those moments where you feel like you've made it. But listen, look, this is all useful information for MI6. So I appreciate you coming on and helping me with this.
Peter, could I ask you a personal
Yeah,
question
go
here
on.
about getting the jab?
Yeah.
Have you really not looked into the counter arguments against the ridiculous monopoly created by governments that 3 or 4 companies get to mix up a bunch of chemicals, make billions of dollars promoting? Like, did you really need it? You're a young, healthy guy, it seems to me.
Not
Like,
that healthy.
They really got to you that far that you felt the risk was worth taking the chemical? You have no idea 2 years from now, you might have 3 fucking ears or some shit.
Dude,
Jim,
Like, what
Jim,
the
listen.
fuck?
Peter is a desperate status cuck who likes being
Definitely.
penetrated by the state. I mean, it's so obvious.
Hey, Jim, honestly, you
Penetrated. There you go.
you should have seen the chemicals I put in me about 8 years ago. I didn't have any.
Yeah, but
I
dude,
mean, I
that's
didn't never give a
different.
shit.
It's different. You almost could trust those chemicals better, dude. I'm
So
sorry.
look, of course I looked into it all. Of course I looked into it. I didn't just go and get a jab without thinking about it. I read everything, both sides of both arguments. I spoke to doctors. I spoke to a immunologist. Like I did my research, right? And in the end, I was like, of course there is a risk, but there is low risk. There's a lot of misinformation out there regarding whether this is gene therapy, whether it's been properly tested. Look, it's a global pandemic. Of course, it's been rushed. But I did my research, and to me, hundreds of millions of doses have been issued, and a very, very low number of side effects and potential deaths from it. Like, none of those are great. But I've been out to the US, right? And the really strange things you put on the TV, and like every second advert is for some drug, and at the end they have that like really fast spoken bit at the end where they go, and by the way, if you take this, your leg might fall over, and like all the kind of like conditions, right? All drugs have side
insane.
effects, right? All of them do. You can go to a hospital and your wife can have a baby and she can have an epidural. That can have a side effect. Okay, that all drugs, all different things have side effects. That's the reality of drugs. I did the research, and I'm happy to have taken the vaccine. But I also believe if you don't want to take it, you shouldn't. And certainly I wouldn't have my kids vaccinated,
Exactly.
but I'm 42, right? And I want to go and see my dad, who I've not seen in 15 months. And if this means I can go and see my dad, that is, again, another risk I want to take. So, yeah.
It's fair. You've made the decision and you've decided to take the trade-offs and accept the risk. It's unfortunate, though, that I think way too many people are just taking the TV narrative and have no clue what they're doing. And some people are severely affected by it, and that's unfortunate. And the pharmaceuticals have no responsibility, which is the really
Of course
most
not,
unfair
though.
part
Look,
of it all.
Look, it's a global pandemic, right? And they're being asked to rush out these drugs. The first thing they're going to request, say, well, hold on a second. We don't want any risk here. We want all, and they're going to request that, and the government's rushing. That doesn't surprise me. Yo, HODL, do you think some people will get the vaccine but deny it?
There's definitely people who are doing that on Bitcoin Twitter at the moment, for sure. You know what I mean? Because, people there's a lot of social pressure to get this vaccine, depending on what your job is and where you work and, et cetera. And I know people who are very, opposed to it in theory, but then the social pressures come and they go, all right. See, I don't do anything. I just hang out at my house. So I have no desire or reason to take it. So I won't until, much later when it's not mRNA based or when mRNA is proven safe and effective. I don't have there's not enough data, not enough market data to say either way. You can say it's safe, but you don't know.
Yeah.
There's not enough market data.
I think that's fair.
Peter, you called it a pandemic. I call it the largest ruse on all of humanity ever perpetrated by governments the world over, because the statistics that I see show no substantial increase in overall deaths, no substantial risk to anybody under the age of 80. I think it's been jacked up all over the place for political reasons, corporate finance reasons, to cover up the finance crisis that's going on, the money printing, all of this. I don't think the collateral damage means anything to these people. The destruction of businesses all over the place, the destruction of lives, the stealing of years, thousands, millions of years of people's lives. People that didn't get to graduate, go to their senior proms, kids that are just starting to recognize the world, and everybody's face is covered. They don't get social cues. The amount of psychological damage that's going to get created by this is monumental. It can never be measured. There is so much negative consequences to this because the real facts were never allowed to be debated in public. The narratives against the scamdemic or the virus or any of this have been suppressed beyond ridiculous. And it's all because the narrative is controlled by the money printers at the very top. They want this to play out the way it's playing out. They want the people in control and always scared. I mean, just V for Vendetta says it all. They want to control everybody and keep everybody scared. They create bullshit, believe that, and then, cover it up so that the people think, oh, wow, look at, bad stuff's happening. Meanwhile, it's created. Right? So the ruse was created. There might be a virus that's a little bit worse than the flu, but that's about it. And had it not been hyped up all over creation, not a single mask would have been sold other than the ones that normally would have been sold. Billions of dollars worth of hand sanitizer would not have been sold. The plexiglass industry would not have experienced the gigantic boom it did with stupid barriers at every counter you go to the world over. This is an insane misallocation of resources. The billions and trillions of dollars that have been spent on stickers on the floor to keep people 6 feet apart that nobody pays attention to anymore is insane. All that money wasted.
Well,
wasted.
I think it's
because of government bullshit narratives.
When the history books write the chapter on COVID, I think they're going to talk about this thing because this was the biggest vector of viral transmission. And what was it transmitting? Fear. For the first time in human history, you were able to beam the fear directly into every man, woman, and child in the developed world. And that's a fundamentally new phenomenon. We hadn't had that back during H1N1, for instance, And so I think people just collectively fucking lost their minds. And that's essentially what happened. And
and the people at the top
it was very convenient for a lot of people.
This is so manipulated. They knew they could do it this way. These people are very smart. They could see exactly how to use all these tools to their advantage.
Again, it's one of those subjects that I think is very complicated, but I agree with a lot of what you say. But I do think it's very complicated. And sometimes I think it's important to get into the nuance of it. So there is certainly, COVID is certainly real. I don't buy into these arguments that it's not real. It certainly is a virus that can kill people, and for a range of different factors that will affect you. It could be whether you're old, it could be whether you have diabetes, it could be whether you're overweight. Look, there's a range of different people, but there are young, healthy people who have also contracted COVID and died. That for me is indisputable. But I agree with some of the responses and reactions to it have been certainly very damaging. I think I'm sympathetic at the start of the pandemic because the only early evidence we had to go by what was happening in China, and I know we can't trust China, but at the same time, information was leaking out, and we're seeing dead bodies drop on the street, which wasn't great. And I think I understand why governments decided to react. I think the biggest problem is none of them apart from maybe some of the states in the US, none of them realized they had to roll this back. It's almost like they'd gone too far. They couldn't admit, oh, we fucked up here. We didn't understand the data correctly. Yes, the lockdowns were too restrictive. Yes, we've done. I think they reacted and then they stuck with it. And I think that became very complicated. The thing is about the data and the evidence is that if you sit in the middle, like I try and do sometimes, you can very easily be swayed by one narrative, which is one direction, one narrative is another direction. You can usually find data and statistics to support a lot of what you potentially believe in. I think I think the COVID situation is complicated, but I absolutely agree that a lot of the reactions were overreactions. I don't always buy that people just sit there, rub their hands, and go, "Oh, this is a chance to control the people." I mean, it's somewhere like the UK. It's not a very useful situation for the government to deal with a pandemic. They're almost certainly going to be voted out in the next election because it has been very damaging. I don't think they're rubbing hands. What I think is it's more down to like how humans operate and humans think, especially people in power, that they make certain decisions which are just fucking stupid. I tend to find that people who work in the public sector wouldn't survive in the private sector as well. But in the public sector,
they don't need to.
No.
Get together in a smoky room because they have different social coordination mechanisms that they use. It's the same way, like somebody says something stupid about Bitcoin. We don't need to all coordinate about what our response is going to be. We pretty much know what our response is going to be collectively beforehand, and then we go after that person, right? Same thing. Like the wealthy elites know how they're going to respond before they respond, and then something happens, and they juice it for all it's worth, really. And it's just all the perverse incentives we have in our society, like the systems of selective pressures that cause
that's it.
Basically the worst cowards in history to be sitting in chairs of influence. I mean, that's one of the major problems.
The perverse incentives.
I mean, also you have the fact that like the older generation has been holding on to the reins of power for so long. So you do have so many baby boomers and silent generation era. Like our president is like almost at death's door, right? I mean, it's crazy to me because this is a virus that affects that group of people. So they make decisions on behalf of everyone for a virus that affects them, right? Whereas I think if you had a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in power, which we should have, historically, you would probably have had a situation where they said, okay, this seems to disproportionately affect the elderly. Let's quarantine the elderly. Yep. Let's put them over here. Let's affect their life. But the elderly were in power, so they said, let's affect everyone's life because this affects us, right?
Well, let's talk about the integrity it takes to get to a position of power in the first place. You have
None.
You can't have any. From the very beginning of your political career. No, you have to bow down to the people who are sending you money. You have to not call out your sponsors. You have to be careful what you can't have absolute integrity because you won't get elected.
Peter,
that's not essentially true.
A steady hand.
Well, hold on, bear with me.
Peter, have you ever heard this phrase, a steady hand?
Explain it to me.
Do you know that phrase?
I've heard it, but explain it to me rather than...
Steady hand is a phrase that's common on the Beltway in Washington. And it means this person can be trusted to do the wrong thing, to do the thing that we need them to do. That's why they're picked and put in the position in the first place.
Yeah, but the point I was going to make...
because of their integrity.
Again, sometimes we have a bias based on our geography. So I spent a lot of time in the US. I've looked at US politics a lot, and it's very different from other parts of the world. The lobbying system in the US, I think, is for me, is a massively perverse way of driving influence, and it's very unusual. But when you say about integrity, there are. So I spent a lot of time in Central and South America. I'm in Central America now. I went out to Bolivia. I've been out to Chile. I'm in El Salvador, as I said. Actually, a lot of people come into power with integrity in these parts of the world. They come as populists. They come in with ideas to support the people. They come with ideas of rooting out corruption. But what happens is, so Bolivia was a great example. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but then he wanted...
Men with the briefcases show up.
Well, he wanted to stay in power, so he changed the constitution. Things like that happen, and then power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And what happens is, over time, I think some people, they believe they've done a good thing. They've had a lot of popular support, and they maybe get some kind of God complex which wants them to continue. But I think it's really important when we talk about these people in power, we don't just look at the geography of a single country, because I think in a lot of places you do get in with integrity. It's whether you manage to hold on to that integrity, and a lot of people don't.
I agree. I think most people would want to maintain a high level of integrity, and many people start out that way. And it's the time when you the first compromise you make is the beginning of your slippery slope downward. You justify it. You go, oh, it's no big deal. No one's going to find out, whatever, whatever. And it's just one after the other. And once you're entrenched into the system, you either quit or you adapt to the system. And the system is fundamentally broken. So everybody who stays for any length of time becomes fundamentally broken, loses their integrity, toes the party line, and they get in a position of power, and it's they're praised by those who like them. It's an ego thing. It's a power trip. They really are in control, and the money starts flowing in their direction. And like all of us, they're looking out for themselves, and they've compromised their integrity enough times that it doesn't feel bad anymore, and everybody else is doing it, and it's just an entrenched system. It's all because of the broken money. All right? It's all because the broken money. You fix the money and all these incentives change, and people become more honest.
I don't buy into the whole fix the money, fix the world entirely, because you're not going to change human nature. But you are going to improve things, and you are going to change the incentives within the system. I agree with that. But it's like this idea of anarcho-capitalism. One of the things I struggle with it is like, how do people live in that kind of structure and that kind of society? Do you end up, and Stefan Rivera sent me a great Mises article, which is why you won't have warlords, but maybe you will. Maybe you have different people who establish power in different ways. I just think sometimes we have to accept that humans are kind of shitty. Like, we are kind of shitty, and we will do shitty things. Even with good or bad money, we will still do shitty things.
That's true. You'll never get rid of stupid, bad people, but their influence will be severely diminished when they have to get value to buy things by providing value first.
That I agree with.
You can only steal so much from some other people, right? So even the very wealthiest Bitcoiners one day will lose their influence as their Bitcoin gets dispersed, as they buy those things they want to buy, even if it's influence or power. But the next person who gets that Bitcoin as payment for that favor, they then have to decide how hard do they want to hold on to it. And so it slowly changes everybody's incentives to be evil and mean, because they're not going to keep getting paid when they are exposed. It takes a while, but it will happen. Bitcoin will fix the world. It's just going to take a while, in my opinion.
HODL, any closing thoughts?
I think it's a good point, man. I think, Bitcoin is a system where incorrect economic calculation leads to your Bitcoin going away from you. And when your Bitcoin go away from you, they don't ever come back to you. Whereas the current system with the Cantillon effect and the money printing and the bailouts, I mean, you incorrectly economically calculate and the government goes, oh, you poor hedge funder, here's another $1 billion. Like, play again at the casino, essentially.
Yeah, that's what's wrong.
And so, when you have a system that correctly rewards economic calculation, you do have a system like Jim was talking to that, leads to the most disciplined people, the people with the highest integrity, accruing the most value. Like, let's say, for instance, Satoshi is alive. He didn't burn his keys and he still holds them. He is a person of superhuman integrity and discipline, right? And is that not a person that we would all like to see become the wealthiest person in the world? I think I would, for sure, rather than somebody who sort of gamified something or, figured out how to cozy up to centers of power. I would like to see the person who had the most integrity and discipline wield the most wealth.
And I would like to add to that if this were to play out where he became known and it was obvious he still controlled all those Bitcoins, his influence would only go so far. People would hold his feet to the fire. He could try to buy any narrative he wanted, but eventually that money would run out. Eventually he would die. His heirs would get it. Those people would have different incentives. They would waste it. They would buy Lambos or whatever. And so that money gets dispersed outward. And only the people with highest integrity providing the most value will be able to attract that Bitcoin to them.
I know some high.
So over a long enough period of time, the Bitcoin will end up in the hands of the people with the highest integrity.
I know some high integrity.
How great would the pleb slaying of Satoshi be? That would be some Julius Caesar.
If he fucked up, it would be monumental.
Shit. I know, it'd be amazing.
Well,
if he came out and then he started wielding his power and his influence, against Bitcoin, Oof.
Right?
There's
God, I
That
would
be
love to
crazy.
stab Satoshi in the back. It would be amazing.
I have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure it's a song by Machine Head where they they say if Jesus walked the earth again, he would be shot. I think I think
Essentially.
I think Satoshi maintains integrity as a myth, as a mythical legend, rather than somebody who walks the earth. But listen, look,
If
I know
you meet the Buddha on the road,
yeah,
kill him.
I actually know some high integrity Lambo owners as well, so I don't think we should discriminate against people just for that fact.
There's plenty of high integrity people out there, Peter. I just don't think any of them work in government.
No,
Or in
well,
shitcoins.
I think there are people who work in government who do have integrity. I just think they're few and far between.
All right,
But
that's a little bit too. Wait a second. Let me explain myself. I agree. That's not fair. Plenty of people with integrity work in government. What the sad part is, they don't realize by their participation in this giant mechanism, they're destroying the lives of innocent people all over the world. So they should quit and go work for a real business that provides real value and doesn't steal from everyone.
what it is in every rat race, there is ways to cheat and get better. Like you can be a high integrity sports person, but you might be a cyclist who thinks, well, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to fuck around with my blood because I want to win the Tour de France. And you might be an athlete, you might be the same. You could be somebody in business who fucks somebody over to get up. And there are as the perfect term that HODL used is perverse incentives. It's the same, I'm sure, within government. If you want to be a successful politician, you do back-end deals. You do you want to secure votes within your party, so you have to do deals with people. I mean, one of the great TV programs for me for understanding US politics, I don't know if it actually does totally reflect it, but House of Cards, all you're seeing is all these backroom deals being done, right? You do this and we'll do that. And that's the problem, is the perverse incentives. It's like, how are you going to help me? That exists in every part of life. That is. And it's
But wait a second. That's because it's an unlimited stream of money coming from
No,
the top.
what I'm
These
saying
people
is-
can keep playing this game.
yes, and I agree with that.
Jim, corruption has been going on from time immemorial, whether
Of
we were
course,
on
that'll
a
never
sound
stop.
money standard or not.
But
right?
the people who can pay for the corruption in a closed monetary system that no more is created, those people that can pay for that corruption run out of money eventually. And that money is now dispersed to other people.
What I'm saying, Jim, is people make trades in life. They trades with themselves, trades with their integrity, trades with other people. They make decisions, like a million decisions a day. And every now and again, they're going to make bad ones. And I just think in politics, it's a dirty business. Like the way to get in power, to wield power, sometimes you have to do deals with the devil, and there are people with low integrity and there's people with high integrity, and they make different trade-offs. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just more I try and understand why it happens. If we're going to break down the structure of power, well, what replaces it? What makes it better? Do we have 330 million people living completely independently with no centralized power, or will there naturally be new forms of power, new forms of structure that form? How are they governed? Like, that's what I'm really super interested in, and I just think it's a very complicated subject we could discuss for hours. But it's
people love to collectivize, man.
Yeah, they do.
Fucking love to collectivize.
Well, we collectivize as
I think one of the
families.
smartest things I ever heard Balaji say. Yeah, I think one of the smartest things I ever heard Balaji say was, he said, the sovereign individual thesis is correct, except it's not going to be the sovereign individual, it's going to be the sovereign tribe. And I think if you look at, Bitcoin maximalists, like, we're essentially a sovereign tribe.
Yeah,
right.
It's
One of the
localism,
first,
really,
one of
right?
the most powerful.
I agree.
break down into smaller structures, which does make sense. Well, listen, look, I've got to head off. Jim, great to meet you, man. Thanks for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. You obviously don't remember. We met at Unconfiscatable. I think it was 2 years
did we?
ago.
In
You weren't
Vegas.
there last year, were you?
Yeah, I was there.
In
Yeah, I
Vegas.
was.
At last year as well? Then maybe it was last year. I think it was at the poker tournament, which would have been
I
2
did
years
terrible
ago.
at that.
The one that was in the hotel. Oh, whatever. We met for a minute or two, whatever. You were a big wig. I was
Shut up,
nobody,
man.
so I expect you not
Don't
to
embarrass
remember
me.
me. It's okay.
Well, listen, look, I'm going to see you in Miami, right?
I'll be there. I'll be there
I've
for
got
sure.
I've
Can't
got
wait.
20 grand to put behind the bar for a party, so I hope you come along and drink with me, and I'll save your ticket. You too, HODL.
Well, not much of a drinker, but I enjoy the socializing.
We'll do
so
that as well. But listen,
You save money having me there.
well, it's great to meet you. I hope you do go and do some more podcast stuff. If you need any help, if you want to do something, you just tap me up and I'll share all my knowledge that I have of it.
I appreciate that. I do have one last
Yeah,
statement
do
to
it, man.
make, and it's this.
Oh man,
If you're just listening in
Okay.
audio, Jim's showing his T-shirt, which says, "This T-shirt is more decentralized than Ripple," which is an accurate and factual statement.
it's a real problem because
Right. And it's why I bitch about the shit coins.
dude, like,
Thanks for having me on, Peter. I really appreciate it. HODL, always good to see you again.
Good to see you,
Can't wait to
brother.
hang out again.
HODL, man, good to see you. I'll see you in Miami. Jim, I'll see you in Miami.
Fuck yeah.
And let's go and drink and talk Bitcoin, even if it's soft drinks.